targeted for users of the product iMove. So if you have not seen iMove, that's great. Just so you know, this product is designed for national change of addresses, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And if you do own iMove, we're going to talk about some new things we've added and some tips and tricks you may not have known. So like I said, we invited a whole bunch of people. We invited anybody that owns iMerge, our duplicate merge manager product, iEmail, our Outlook integration. As an FYI, iEmail Cloud is coming out in this first quarter where you'll be able to use it with OWA, so all web-based. Activity Importer Plus, the easiest to use tool for bringing in activities into iMIS. iImport, the easiest to use tool for bringing in data into iMIS, bringing in and updating as well. Our famous Meeting Closer product for closing events and not losing any detail. Freight Rate Importer for those of you still using the rates built into iMIS. This will bring in all of your UPS, FedEx, and USPS rates into iMIS. iMap, our geolocation tool. FREs, if you're using fundraising, you should definitely have freeze. It's fundraising made easy, the ability to edit gifts after they've been posted, change things like campaigns and whatnot, or appeals, those things that you're unable to change once the gift is posted, but they have no financial overview or implication. Also, to change an ID, if you put the gift on the wrong ID, you can do it with one click with FREs, whereas it's a couple more steps in iMIS. Our online donation product, iDonate. Page filter, we're using this a lot these days with RISE clients when they need to make a change that RISE just doesn't support yet. So that's brand new. iDocument, our documentation product. We have a new version of that coming out shortly, along with an exciting announcement coming up soon. We've partnered with another organization out there called Find It Easy, and we're going to offer an iDocument Plus. Profile Editor, our high-end profile management tool, and of course, while you are here, iMove. So we're going to cover the history of iMove. Why did we create it? How did we create it? The what's new, and hey, I didn't know it did that. A day in the life of an iMove user. So we're going to actually walk you through how we see people using it, some things you may not have known. You're going to probably want to get the latest version. We're going to show you how to do that. And then we're going to show you how to get help if you get stuck, and some Q&A. So we went back to SmartSoft, the people that run the engine here of iMove, and they said that, hey, you know, your users have found over 700,000 moves in 2014 and 2015. So that's pretty cool because that's about $2 million in savings. So that's significant, that's a boatload of cash. It's not lotto cash, but it's pretty good lotto. And so iMove came out 1.0. We're on 2.3.25, and thank you. It has been enhanced based on your suggestions, based on our, internal usage here, but it's because of you it is where it is today. So, hey, why did we create iMove? Well, people keep moving. The post office says 17% of Americans change their addresses annually. You may not know that many people that move, but if you think about it, kids move out of the house, families do separate and whatnot, so there's a lot of address changes going out there. And then once you lose contact with that person, it gets pretty difficult to find them again, if it's even possible. There are firms out there that make a lot of money finding lost individuals, and so it's just better to never lose them. If you do get a return piece of mail, they estimated it's about $3 per piece of return mail. You've got your postage, you've got your lost time, you've got your lost revenue, and you've got your lost opportunity. So that piece of mail, it wasn't just the postage. It was, it's the rekeying, it's finding out where they went, it's the opportunity you could have had. Turns out your data is already in bad shape. You've got a whole bunch of data entry issues. You've probably migrated off another system or imported some lists. You have members and non-members entry keying in their addresses now, and there's system errors. There's just a lot of reasons that your addresses can get lost, in addition to the people actually moving. And that puts your bulk mail discounts at risk. The post office really wants you to be certifying your database every 90 days. They were talking about 5 years ago about some severe penalties. They never put them in. The post office is not in the mood to upset people, but if you're sending out a whole bunch of bulk mail and a significant portion of it is being returned, they could come back and charge you first-class postage on that, which would be pretty brutal. So you probably would say, hey, Doug, that's great and everything, but we've got Accumail, and we were doing some practice runs of this demo yesterday, and we thought we've got a couple new people here at CSI, and they said, yeah, but what about Accumail? We thought that's a great thing to talk about. This chart kind of tells you the difference between Accumail and iMove, and I will say the engine behind Accumail is the company that makes the engine behind Accumail actually makes the engine behind iMove. The difference is it's in the cloud for iMove. Both will determine if it's a real postal address. So CSI is at 855 West Prairie Avenue. There is no 85 West Prairie Avenue. If you tried to type that in, it would be, sorry, that street address doesn't exist. Both Accumail and iMove will do that. Both of them are going to make it into a pretty U.S. postal address. It's going to take out the West and convert it to a W, and it's going to take out the Avenue and convert it to Av. Both of them are going to make it work correctly for, or look pretty, if you will. And both are going to add the zip+4. Where iMove really starts to excel is, it's going to find out, did that individual or company move? It will clear and or set your bad address flag. So there's the bad address flag in iMIS. We'll show that in a minute. And the great thing about iMove is it'll clear it and set it. So if it finds that a person has moved and or a bad address, it's going to tell you and set that flag. It'll change log any addresses that have changed, including addresses other than primary. The current version of iMIS only logs your primary address changing. This will log other ones as well. It can call a stored procedure after the move. And so what's kind of cool about that is that you might have a demographic field that is updated when you change an address, and you can do that with iMove as well. This will also generate all your documentation that you can prove to the post office you have set your database through that fun stuff, or send it through National Change of Address. And you can batch your data using SQL expressions, so you don't need to send up your whole database to get certified, if you will. You can just go and say, I just want to send my members up and whatnot. So how does it work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It's a desktop program, and it's going to communicate with your iMIS database and the SmartSoft servers. You can run it whenever you want. You don't have to shut down iMIS, which is pretty powerful. You can decide, as I mentioned, what addresses you want to verify. You can send up part of your database, all of it, and you can decide how often. I mentioned it updates the bad addresses. It can automatically change those addresses and clear the flag if you're marking those addresses as bad. It'll call a stored procedure that you have to write that will go and do other fun things if you like. And everything stays in iMIS, which is pretty cool. So now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Here's some stuff you may not know, right? We've got a whole bunch of fun things added in here to, iMove. Your export options, your import, so which data is going to go out, which data is going to come back, the bad address mapping, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's talk about those in a minute. We added some new cleaner interface to it. So there was one of our goals at CSI is to make sure you don't have to go back to the manual, and so that was why we did it. There were some things where even here people were going back to the manual and saying, I don't get it. We really enhanced the bad address processing. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So it'll not only erase, but it'll now will update bad addresses. You can see how many credits you have remaining in your expiration date. That was something where people would find out, kind of a surprise when they went to run it, that they were out of credits or they had expired. So now we make that very visible for you. We had a big brouhaha where we couldn't tell if people were using it or not, and we were upset because if you've paid all this great money for the product and you're not using it, that's not a good use of your cash. So we added a date last used. So especially in environments where multiple people might be running this, you can see the last date that iMove was actually run on your database. There's a new toolkit. This is all behind the scenes. You would never see it, but what it did is it made the processing go even faster. And then we updated to our new login and self-licensing. Really what that does for you is, especially with this conversion to iMIS 20, a lot of user counts have changed. And although iMove is not sold on a per user basis, it does key to your iMIS license key. And so as people would enter a new license key for iMIS 20, their iMove would stop working. And they wouldn't know that until they went to run it, say, on a Friday night when no one was around and they had nothing else to do. And so then they'd have to email CSI and say, I need a new license key, please. And then they'd have to wait until Monday when we got back in the office. So just like all of our other products, we've added a self-licensing system in. It's going to call back to us here at CSI via the internet and say, hey, are they legit? And it's going to go, they're legit. Go ahead and give them a new license key. And that's going to happen all automatic. You don't have to do anything. So very powerful there. Really designed to not slow you down for those of you night owls that like to do things at night. So we're going to do now is we're going to send a mass mailing to all of our members in our database. But before we do that, really it's important to find the people that have moved. So we're going to run iMove. And we want to remove any bad address flags. So if I happen to get Brittany's email back, some mail back that I sent to her last month, I've gone and marked her address as bad because I don't want to send her any more mail. Since I know that address is bad, and I know that I'm going to be running iMove again. So I'm going to remove, if I have marked her address as bad, and I do find that she's moved, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase that bad address flag. But I'm also going to set some new ones. I want a user that pulls up someone's record to be able to know why we can't send them mail. And you'll see in a minute there's a whole bunch of different reasons why you can't send mail. So for instance, it might be a bad address. It could be a bad street. It could be a missing street. You'll see that. And then, hey, let's standardize the addresses. Let's make them look clean. Let's take 855 West Prairie Avenue into 855 W Prairie Ave. So that's sort of our plan here. Let's see how we do it. And we're going to do it really fast because that's what we do here with all of our products now at CSI. So I'm going to jump into the product. Normally I have these all running, and don't yet, but I'm going to show you iMIS in 1 second here. So here we go, iMove. We're going to start up iMove. Notice there's a user guide. We're going to talk about that one in a minute. I'm going to log in. And now I'm going to decide which records I'm going to send up. So a lot of people just send their entire database. They say, give me all members. I don't want any certain member types. But notice I can go in and choose a specific member type. Same thing with categories and statuses. I probably don't want to send up my mark for deleted, right? But and then what addresses do you want to send up? Maybe you only want to send the preferred mail up. We recommend sending all, but it's up to you. And then this is the powerful part, the SQL mode. This is where I can actually create a custom SQL statement that's going to go out there and select my records based on my criteria. So you may have a certain number of people you mail to. Maybe they're members. Maybe they're people that were a member within the last 3 years. Maybe they are also other, committee people that aren't members, but somehow they're on a committee and things like that. So you can actually create a custom SQL statement to do the search. But for purposes of this demo, I'm just going to choose all of these people. Before I do that, though, let's take a quick look at our options, because this is really why you're on this call, to see all these great things we've added. The first thing we want to do is decide which countries to send. iMove will only check U.S. addresses. So if all of your U.S. addresses are blank countries, all you have to do is say include blank countries. If you want to include additional countries, you can choose this. And why would I want additional countries? Well, maybe you have some records in there that say United States. Maybe you have some records in there that say USA or something else like that. So maybe you have USA. I don't know how you're coding your USA ones. So we allow you to choose more than just the blank country if you want. But I'm going to turn that off. Do you want to bring in business moves? Family and individuals. I talked about this family move is when the entire family moves. Individual is when someone moves out of the house. I do want to log all address changes. Why not? If it is their business address, not their business, but if it is their secondary address that actually flags for a move, let's log it. We do want to flow down address changes to child records. So if it's an organization that moved, let's flow down that new address to all the individuals attached. And then this is a fun one. The Postal Service really says you're not supposed to be looking at address 2 and address 3 fields in iMIS. They're just not part of the address. They really want it all on one line. So we recommend you have the ignore address 2 and address 3 fields on there. Some people put apartment numbers and whatnot in there. And if that's your case, then just go ahead and turn that off. And it'll look at address 2 and address 3. Here are our standard options. And then here's a special little feature that we snuck in here a long time ago. You may not want to update people who moved based on certain criteria. Our product says if they've moved and we have a high degree of confidence that they moved, we're going to update their address. You can actually put your own logic in. We cover this in the manual, and this is a real high-end feature where you can say, I'm going to override what iMove normally tries to do. Check the manual for more information on that. It's a little risky because you're deciding which addresses get updated. Here's the ability to call a stored procedure at the end of the updates. That's a great example of when I want to clear a demographic field, or we have customers that flag who last updated a record, and they do that in a demographic table, and you could do that right there. You can ignore the move effective date. This is not going to change anybody who is moving in the future. So today, if I know I'm moving March 1st, I can go to the post office and give them my new address, and it won't become effective until March 1st. iMove knows about that, and it's going to ignore the ones that are in the future. I'm sorry, it's not going to ignore the ones that are in the future, but we can, let's try that one more time. It is only going to update the ones that are current, but you could go and say if someone has filled one of those cards out and it is for the future, I want to bring it in. So that's powerful if you only run iMove, say, quarterly. That would be a great reason to use it because you're going to grab the people that are moving the next month. Here's the one where we're going to go ahead and standardize their address and zip plus forward as well, and that's a cool little feature. It's going to do it on everyone, even those that didn't move. And then finally, here's our bad address mapping. This is in the manual. This is all brand new. And there's a couple steps to this. There's a gen lookup table that you need to configure in iMIS where you put in all of your bad addresses, or your mapping, if you will. So if I look at this in iMIS, and I look at my tables, and I go to my general lookup validation, and I look at my bad address. This is my bad address table. And I've gone out here and filled these out. Bad just means bad. It came back, so that's someone putting it in here. And look, I've made a code for each one of these other ones that can come back from iMove. So this one here is the address is coded but undeliverable, the side of the street known to contain no houses. Here's a fun one. The zip code was not found, and the city and state cannot be used to determine. So this is going to go mark the addresses in iMIS that can't be figured out. So they're bad. We can't even decide if they moved. And this is the same sort of thing Accumail will do for you, but Accumail is not going to go and flag the record in iMIS. iMove is going to go do that. So here is all the steps, and this is all documented in the manual. You got to go create this table in iMIS. Then you need to go in and actually fill out these result codes. You don't have to do this. I would bet 90% of the people on this call right now do not have any of this set up, but please do not hesitate to set something like that up, and if you have any questions, feel free to email us, and I'll give you that email address in a minute. So, all looks good. I'm going to go now. I've selected my members. I'm going to load up that data. Notice the other thing that we added down here, and I'm sorry that this is showing here, is my credits remaining. I don't know why my thing's not hiding. My expiration date and how many credits I have remaining. I have the unlimited package, and it's expiring next month. After you've loaded the records, you need to go out there and get your address created. Here's another new feature we added where it's going to even warn you, hey, you're within a month of your account expiring. Really, once again, this is designed to stop you from that Friday night frantic call into CSI when you're like, I need to get a new batch of credits here. So we're going to give you plenty of notice that you are expiring and that you need to renew. I'm now getting this message. This tells me I've run it before and I have my old postal forms out there, but I'm going to go ahead and overwrite those. We're ready to go. I'm going to send up 1,154 records, and I'm going to press OK to process. I've seen this work pretty fast in the morning. Sort of like your DSL, it gets a little slower in the afternoon when more people are using it. Not incredibly slow, but it will slow down a bit in the afternoon. But I'm done with 1154. I have my great reports out here. I've got my CAS report that I can view. This is the one that I'm going to send to the post office and tell them all the great stuff, that I'm a good person. I had this all done. It tells me how many were zip +4 and delivery point verification, how many did we code. This is all that fun stuff that the post office wants. We've got my summary, another great little form for the post office if you like. It tells you basically how many moved, how many moves were found, how many were family, how many were individual. And then, of course, our details. This is actually where we're going to find out who moved, what type of move it was, individual or family. And there we go. They've all moved. That's all my information. This is important. iMIS doesn't update until you hit that close button. So that's important to remember. When I hit that close button, it updates. So in the early days, I would finish. I'd be looking at all those forms. I'd see all the moves, and I'd go into iMIS. And until I finish this last step, iMIS is not updated. Now iMIS is updated. And I can go out here and look at some of these records. So let's look at Deborah Anderson. All right, she's actually out there twice. Notice she now has been given a bad 07, which if we click on that, there are no street name matches in the given zip code or in any geographical related zip code. Basically, this is clearly a made-up address, but we've now used iMove to flag why it is a bad address. That, hey, I'm sorry, in that zip code, O'Connor Street doesn't exist, as we could expect in Mississippi, right? I'm sorry. There's just no such thing as an O'Connor Street there. Anyway, in that zip code, maybe there is one somewhere else. But so we can look up any of these records that have been returned. Notice they're all listed here in a nice grid. I can go over here to Doris Mason if we like now. I'm going to cancel out of here. And we look up Doris's record. And we can see she's a bad 08, and that is the street name contains a word that I can't say, components which cannot be discarded with confidence. So basically that is, there is stuff in that street name that just do not make sense. And they can't throw it away. They normally could take out the road and figure out that it's street and stuff like that, but there's other stuff in there they just can't figure out. So that's a real cool feature of iMove that you should be using to mark your addresses as bad, so you're not sending mail to people that just don't exist. Okay, let's get back to our slideshow here. So we did that. If you saw that, I really recommend, if you want to use it, that you are on our latest version of iMove, and that is 2.3.25. You see that when you go to log into iMIS, and you see that if you go to Help About. If you want to get that version, you can go to our website, click on Login. And when you do that, you're going to need to log in. If you've lost it, just email sales@csinc.com, and we'll give you a new login. All right? And it does say your product key. Like I said, you won't need product key anymore going forward. Once you're logged in, you're going to see all of the great CSI modules you actually own. Okay, I'm sorry, own and are current on. So if you don't see a product here, you may not have either received or paid your software update bill. So you should see every product that you think you own right here when you go to this area of our website. You'll find iMove down there, and then this is powerful. I mentioned on every webinar. You can, if you want, look at the documentation. The documentation has the changes we've made. So let's say you're on 2.23.24 instead of 2.5. So 2.3.24, and you go, gosh, is it worth upgrading to 2.5? You can go out here and check out what's in our release notes. We also put it on Twitter and I believe Facebook, but you can check out the release notes. And maybe the change made for .25 is not important to you, so you can save your time upgrading. But that's a great way to figure out what's in that latest release. You're going to go ahead and download and save it. It's a zip file. Save it somewhere on your computer if you want. I like to save everything into an erase me directory on my computer. That way I can clean it up whenever I want to clean up space. So I just save it out there, install it, and go from there. It's normally user installable. If you haven't upgraded in a while, you're going to get prompted for what's called an SA password or an SA equivalent. If you don't know that or it doesn't make any sense, then just go ahead and check with your IT person or your solution provider, and they'll get you logged in. Once that information is put in, once that password is entered, you never have to do it. Well, you don't have to do it again until the next major upgrade. So they can do the old cash register thing if you want. Reach over and type in that secret password, click OK. It's just a one-time use, and it only needs to be done the first time you're installing it on your network. So if you do get stuck, please read the manual. Brooke here spends a lot of time on the manuals here, making sure they're understandable. We're always open to feedback, but the manual has good stuff in it. Please peruse that, and everything I showed you today is documented in there. If this is the first time you're running iMove, there's a couple interesting setups. You've got to generate your PAF document, and we give you instructions on how to do that. They're in the manual. And then you sort of just go through the PAF setup and then add a new one. This is the SmartSoft licensing system, and that's where they're going and identifying who you are, how many credits you have. It's all those credits that I showed you, and those are going to create some files on your machine that you won't need to worry about for at least a year. If you're stuck, please email us at support@csiinc.com. Give us everything if you can. We'd love a screenshot. Tell us what you were doing. Give us a screenshot. And when I say a screenshot, don't just give us the error in the screenshot. Give us as much of the product as you can, because sometimes people will include stuff and are like, wait, I see the issue. It's in the far corner over there. They're in the wrong database. So the more the better. And then iMove supports our runtime errors. Please turn that on. If you don't have that on and you get an error, rerun it and get the error with that turned on. What that does is that sends us some information about your error. It sends what the actual cause was. It sends information about you as well, what organization you're with. It does tell us who the user logged in as, but no password is passed or anything like that. It allows us to peer into the error without having you send us a copy of your database. So that is super powerful. And then when you submit your stuff to support, in about 2 days or less, we're going to get back to you. And that's going to get back to you with an answer, hopefully, if you have those error logging turned on. If you do not have the error logging turned on, we may have to say, please rerun it with the error log, or we may have to ask for more information. And it's just going to delay our response to your issue. So please turn on the error logging. Silly questions. There's actually no question that's silly, but these are things that we've been asked in the last month or two. And the first one is, hey, can I put iMove on more than one computer? We thought that was an interesting question because really it should only be run by one person, or so we thought. But you know what? Just like the real world, who knows how people use this stuff, and we're okay with you put it on more than one computer. So yeah, you certainly can, and it's documented now in the manual how to do that. What's the maximum number of addresses I can have checked at one time? We sort of say about 400,000. If you're going higher than that and it's working fine, let us know. That'd be cool. But that was sort of our guess in the dark, and we know people that use iMove for about 400,000 address checks at one time. I think it takes about 2 hours. Can I schedule iMove to run automatically? No, not at this time, but we're certainly looking into that. That would be a cool thing if you could schedule this to just automatically run, say, the last Friday of every month. So we are looking into that. If you have a great idea for an enhancement, please email us at support@csiinc.com. They're reviewed about once a month or so. Are we going to have more events like this? You betcha. Our webinars page tells you all about the events. If you thought this was the greatest webinar you ever saw and you want to see it again or tell your friends about it, you can go to the same page. And as Brittany said, this is going to be recorded and it's going to be put up on our website. Same thing. You can also go to iMove. That's where we have a full demo of the product. And of course, this webinar. I like this webinar better than the actual full demo. This shows you the real usage of it. So, but iMove is our actual page. So I'm going to open it up to any questions we have here, and we will go from there. So I think I did really well because I don't see any questions, Brittany, do you?
I don't yet. Still have some time. I know we went over just a little bit, but in case anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in.
Please turn on that bad address processing because it's very powerful. And then the other thing you'll need to do with the bad address processing is once you have these addresses flagged in iMIS as a bad address, it's important that you adjust any query that you're using to generate mailing labels or mailings to ignore any address with a status in it. That's the way the bad address status is made to work. If something is in here, you shouldn't be sending to that person. So you don't want to use this for something called good. That would be a really bad thing to do. So your query is and name underscore address dot status equal to blank. Those are the people you want to be sending to. And by running iMove now, this is going to exclude a whole bunch of people that you might have been sending to that even iMove can't figure out where they've gone to. It's going to save you even more money on postage. All right. Well, I think that's it. Like I said, we've got this recorded. It's going to be up on our website this afternoon, and I think you're going to get a survey after this as well. So we'd love to hear any suggestions you have and whatnot for future webinars and whatnot. Thanks again for your afternoon. Appreciate it.